Hello everyone, welcome to the Zembrin podcast series. My name is Dr. Manta Magume and it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Ralph Tete Amlalo. How are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I really am looking forward to getting really deeper into what and who Zembrin is for and what Zembrin is about.
With pleasure.
So there's been several episodes already and they're actually quite interesting. Having gone through the Sceletium tortuosum, ranging from the ancient wisdom that is now being applied to the scientific rigor that we now see in our stores. Take me through a little bit of that production and that evolution of the drug. Yes.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much, Dr. Mantha. So Zembrin is a standardized botanical ingredient of a plant called Sceletium tortuosum that we've applied clinical science to it to be able to effectively see the outcomes of mood elevation, stress, anxiety relief, but more also importantly, focus. So this is an ancient plant that's dated well over 350 years, which traditionally belonged to the Khoisan tribe. So people of the Northern Cape province who actually lived with this plant by chewing it. So what we did was, as a company, my predecessor actually, by the name Dr. Nigel Kereke, actually lived in the community to study how these indigenous people lived and why they were chewing the plant. After months of research, we discovered that they chewed the plants when they wanted to embark on long journeys, because they were nomads. They had to leave their communities, long journeys on walks without food, water, and weeks on end, and they returned back, still looking calm with their catch, with their feed, and brought it back to their family. But what was also interesting was that this plant is interesting. It's a plant that survives in dry, arid areas. So if you're familiar with the Northern Cape, it's quite dry. It's a desert type plant, very strong plant. But there are quite a number of cultivars of this plant, and that's what people generally don't know. And that's the thing with plant-based medicines. If plants are not grown under controlled conditions, you could actually have identical plants, but with different chemistry.
Yeah.
Right. So there's also another cultivar of the plants that we discovered that when they chewed, they only chewed it for the purposes of communal gatherings, playing music, playing drums, beenting and dancing. And when we did the research, we discovered that gave them a euphoric effect, right? But as a company, what we then decided to do was focus on the one that gives you the calming effect, gives you the focus effect, and reduces your stress and elevates your mood. So it's a indigenous plant. We've had it many years. It's not new. As a company, we did the science, we applied the pharmaceutical principles to be able to standardize it so that you would know how much to take. And we applied clinical studies, and we have efficacy studies that proves what we say we do with our unique cultivar.
And that really speaks to me, because I'm coming at you as a pharmaceutical industry player, but also as an African and also as a mom.
Yeah.
So this really excites me, because the key words associated with Zembrin is calm, serenity.
Yeah.
What does that mean exactly?
Okay. So Zembrin offers the unique opportunity to do two things, really. So it keeps you calm, and it does that through, inhibiting the serotonin pathway, right? And which releases and gives individuals the ability to stay calm, stay relaxed, reduce any stress or anxiety related effects that one may feel. But in addition to that, and this is something that's also quite unique to our pharmaceutical alternatives, is it doesn't make you groggy. So some pharmaceutical products will keep you calm to the point that you want to fall asleep, or you wake up feeling a little bit groggy because you're not quite there yet. You're not ready to go.
You're not able to go.
Yes.
You're not snapping out of it as fast.
But that's not what Zembrin does. So
great.
In addition to keeping you calm, it keeps you focused. So it has a dual mode of action, where it also activates and inhibits the PDE4 inhibition pathway. And what that does is that it activates your ability to stay focused. It kicks in your cognitive centers. So you're calm, but you're focused and sharp. So we advocate for the use that Zembrin should be taken ideally in the morning to keep you calm to go through your day, but also keep you focused and sharp, to also get through your day, whatever tasks that you may have presented.
And it speaks to one of my favorite authors, Viktor Frankl, who published The Man's Search for Meaning, where he says between a stimulus and a response is a space. So do you feel that Zembrin buys you the bandwidth between being stimulated and being able to respond coherently? Because what happens these days is we're living in a volatile, the VUCA world.
Yes.
And a lot is coming at us.
Yeah.
But which then means everything is a mental assault.
Yes.
So how then does Zembrin buy us that space between stimulus and a response? Okay. Does it increase the ability for us to choose the correct response at the time?
Yes, very good scenario. So I'd like to put it in this way, like we are in a flight or fight environment. Yeah. So let's say we're here and a lion walks in here right now. What are we supposed to do?
Hopefully not.
Most people would jump, would jump for it, right? What Zembrin would offer you at that point in time is for you to stay calm. Right, but give you the ability to make the right decisions when the whole world around you is falling apart, and so you can take the right decisions and choose the right responses.
Yes.
So that's what Zembrin offers. Yeah.
Thank you for that, because as a mom of a teenage girl, I really do need a lot of space to be able to respond to whatever my daughter is going through. You've also talked about the anxiety just drops down. You've also spoken about how Zembrin also helps stabilize the mood and improves cognitive clarity.
Yeah.
What I'm finding is we are now talking a little bit more about brain health, emotional resilience. Where are you going with Zembrin? Because we're now moving like never before. Could it have been a pandemic-induced activity where we're now realizing what we're holding on our shoulders? What is Zembrin's role in the conversation about brain health coming to look like?
So I think Zembrin is definitely going to offer the ability for individuals to maximize their brain function, and our world is getting increasingly complex. Now in the advert, first there was COVID, which definitely shook all of us and created a lot of anxiety and stress.
Yes,
And Zembrin could have been an excellent solution in that time space, but we were all on lockdown.
So we couldn't have gotten it
That was actually, unfortunately, incidents like that actually present opportunities. And that was the very first bites that we had. Look, we should actually now start marketing this and taking advantage of, unfortunately, of that pandemic era. But fast forward to that, we're now in the AI world, right? I mean, our demand for cognitive ability has 10x'd. And if people don't realize it, is that we are now doing a lot more with devices, screen time. Our brains are always switched on, social media. We just have a lot more going on for ourselves than we ordinarily did 10 years ago.
Yeah, and our brains haven't really evolved as fast.
Not
the world has.
Exactly.
So we're now marrying Zembrin to our brain's ability to actually handle
and adapt.
And
exactly.
Okay.
I think our brain function could always contain these things. It's just that sometimes, your brain function will only activate based on your environment. Right? But now the environment is forcing us to think clear, to think quicker, to make quicker decisions and move faster. And that's what Zembrin will help us do, And sometimes our inability to focus is because there's a lot of clutter. There's a lot of fog. So it's not that you simply can't do it. So that's why the calming effect is critical. It just tells you, stay calm, stay relaxed, and let's get done what needs to be done in a very logical, clear manner. And that's what Zembrin does.
And this, it speaks to me personally because outside of being the scientist and the mom to being a teenager, I'm hitting that phase of my life where brain fog seems to be something that really hampers my ability to do my job or actually interrogate life, right? So Zembrin is something that adds on. And I wanted to move back, and now I'm throwing in my pharmaceutical hat, right? What's the dose? What are the clinical studies? And I really am impressed with the amount of clinical data and clinical studies that are coming out, that are consistently being generated, right? Yes. So going back to how does then Zembrin, what's the pharmacokinetics dynamics? For those at home, pharmacokinetics and dynamics is what the drug actually does in your body and what your body does to the drug. Take me through a little bit more about that.
So, and I'm gladly going to do that. So we sell Zembrin in the EU, or we're just about selling in the EU, but we've been largely selling it in the USA. And for us to be able to register with EFSA, we have to go through a stringent protocol of safety and toxicology tests. So we've done the full suite of safety tests to prove that Zembrin is safe, right? And the safety tests are done at way higher levels. So there's something called the no observed adverse events level, and the concentration or the amount of dose needed to actually establish that if you take that dose, you will still not experience any side effects for Zembrin is well over 600 milligrams. 600
milligrams, and your dosage is actually 25 milligrams.
So we're way within the safety profile. So even if you double exit or 4x it, you're still within the safety range.
Zone. Yes.
Anecdotally, the plant was given to infants, to help manage things like colic, teething issues, when children had difficulty with sleeping. So that also goes back to show that, and I'm talking over 300 years ago, that it also goes to show that it's safe use. Yes. And that's what also gave us the confidence. When Dr. Nigel Garricke was doing the initial science, he worked with a gynecologist in Cape Town. And that gynecologist was actually managing pregnant women, first-time pregnant women who were experiencing anxiety. Zembrin was a very good solution for those mothers to help them manage the anxiety. So it also once again goes to show how safe it is and how effective it is. Then when we definitely established that and the toxicity levels, we needed to now prove the efficacy. So we did a lot of animal studies, and based on those protocols, we have to use, initially before you go human, you have to do them on rats.
Yes.
So we've done cognitive studies to look at object locomotive ways if the rats take Zembrin and if they don't. And that's when we saw that even for Zembrin, our cognitive abilities are actually more pronounced than our mood elevation and stress, anxiety, although it does both, right? The rats were able to locate those objects and very difficult challenges quicker when they were on Zembrin. Then we took that into our human clinical studies to see, okay, fine, let's now apply it. We did studies to check the side effects profiles. It's very well tolerated. There were some participants who will probably complain of headache, nausea, and vomiting, which are standard side effects profiles.
Standard side effects for all molecules, really.
Exactly. Yes. So it's nothing really over the top, right? But a lot of our clinical studies that we've shown, right, demonstrated that participants actually could feel that they felt better on their mood, their anxiety, they could feel a change. And that's the thing with Zembrin. It's quick acting.
That experiential.
Yes, experiential feeling.
I've picked up that experiential.
So when you take it, when you take it, you feel it. That's what it means.
So that's a subjective measure, although you do supplement it with clinical trials and clinical studies.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So when participants take it, they feel it, and they feel it within, some say within 30 minutes, and some say within 2 hours, depending on what their mental capacity and coping mechanism is. One clinical study that we have that we're quite proud of is that we did what we call an fMRI study. So the fMRI
functional MRI, yes,
where we actually measured the rate of blood flow through the brain when participants took Zembrin. And that's when it was established that within the first 30 minutes, we could actually see the effects of Zembrin in those participants, which confirmed it's quick acting.
It's quick acting.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take off my scientist and my pharmaceutical hat and put on the African hat.
Please do, with pleasure.
I've had the pleasure and I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of time with my grandmother in the field, and they have incredible knowledge. And for you to now bring a drug that has, the indigenous knowledge systems that are now dying, and you're applying it in a rigorous clinical setting, that's an amazing feat, because I, for one, will now put on my pharmaceutical and scientific hat and say, there's a lot of all these supplements that are saying, it'll keep you calm, it'll do this. But that has never really been married before.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In terms of getting our indigenous knowledge system and translating it in clinically and scientific credibility. Take me through that and how then it's now translating to being sold and approved worldwide, and where are you where to next?
Okay. Very good question. So I think two things. One is financial. The reason being why you don't see a lot of the indigenous plants, being applied into the pharmaceutical sector. It's quite expensive to apply the pharmaceutical. To run a clinical study by South African standards, you're looking nowhere between 3 to 5 million rand.
And that's a small
study.
Tiny trial.
Yes. And there's no guarantee you may pass.
You may pass.
Not to say that the ingredient is not working, maybe how the study was designed, or the way the volunteers were recruited, you never know.
Yeah.
But what I'm quite proud of is that, so HGNH, which is the company that supplies Zembrin, was the first company that got approved what we call a bioprospecting permit by the Department of Forestry, Fishery, and the Environment.
So HDNH was approved for bioprospecting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is an act.
Yes.
Plants like Sceletium, tortuosum, and a range of other plants that are found indigenously in South Africa are covered by the Biodiversity Act.
And that's important.
Yes.
It
just protects the rights of the indigenous people where the traditional knowledge was obtained from.
Yes.
It also helps to minimize the intellectual exploitation of these people. So what we did is that we worked very closely with the South African Sand Council. We negotiated an agreement with them where for every kilogram of Zembrin that we sell, we actually pay royalties back to the South African Sand Council, who looks after the interest of two communities, Post-Hoek and Nurfree communities that are located in the Northern Cape. And those funds go into treasury accounts where they use it to either manage the elderly, take kids to school, develop internet or learning centers for the elderly and for the community.
And that's important.
Oh,
right?
It is.
So not only am I getting the effect of the drug and I'm enjoying that mood balance and cognitive, clarity, but I'm helping support my own people right here in South Africa.
Yes.
And I really like that. So what should we be looking out for when we're looking at the product? Is there sometimes there's a halal sticker, kosher. What should we be looking at? Because
good, that's a very good question. So as part of our collaboration with the Sound Council, we actually have a logo with the Sound Council that's embossed on the packaging of our products that's associated with Zembrin.
So there is a logo.
Yes, there's a South African Sound Council, which means that the South African Sound Council has endorsed this product. And essentially what it means is that we are going through the regulatory requirements to ensure that we're paying royalties back, we're maintaining the regulations as per the Act, and fulfilling both the government requirements as well as the Sound Council requirements. And that's important because, not sure if I mentioned, but there are different cultivars of this plant.
I was going to come to the cultivar.
And it's not quite known, even to the naked eye. So it takes a real botanist or a taxonomist to be able to look at two plants that are very identical to the naked eye, but they will achieve different outcomes. So the cultivar that we grow is for stress alleviation and focus. There is another cultivar that actually brings about euphoria. So, and there's an industry for it. If you go there's some parts in Cape Town, especially in the entertainment industry, where Sceletium tortuosum is processed for vaping, and for liquor, for drinks, for beer. So there are Sceletium tortuosum alcoholic drinks. There are Sceletium tortuosum vaping products, cigarettes and things, but that's different. And it's important that...
Is it regulated? Are they regulated?
Well,
That's been my concern.
They have to go... Well, I don't know. They have to go through the South African Sound Council as well as the Department of, Forestry Fisheries. And I also don't know if they've proven the science, because that's also the critical thing.
That's important to me, because if I'm going to put something in my body, I need to know that it's backed up by science.
100%.
Although the drug is a natural ingredient, but it still goes into the same body as the paracetamols and all of that.
Yes.
Now, due to the... And that's important, that it needs to be rigorously tested, and that brings me to standardization.
Yes.
What happened there? Why the standardization, and what does it mean?
So we have to apply very strict quality control procedures, and even on our farm, if we notice a harvest that doesn't meet the stringent fingerprint that we have, so we have a unique fingerprint, and that fingerprint relates to the outcomes. Right. If the harvest doesn't meet the fingerprint, we write it off. And sometimes some things are due to, some things we can control and some things we can't. So when we go through periods of excessive rainfall or very harsh, dry conditions, it does change the chemistry of the plant. But because our outcomes are stress and focus, or stress elevation, mood elevation and focus, we have to make sure that whatever lots that we harvest
stays within a very narrow range. It seems to be that because of the PDE4 and the serotonin and how it goes to the brain, the standards has to be
very tight.
Very tight.
Very, very tight.
Very tight for the safety of the consumers.
Yes. Yeah. So in our plant extract, so it's still an extract, there are over 21 known alkaloids that are present in the extract. But we standardize our alcohols about to 4 key alkaloids. The one of interest, that is Zembrin, is the one that's notably... It's the one that's most studied. I think it was the first alkaloid that was identified. Before the others were Mezembrinone, Mezembrinal, Mezembrinon were all identified. The challenge with Zembrin is that that's the alkaloid that is linked to euphoria. So...
Can I have some of that?
Well, in some circles, Zembrin could actually be developed, for depression. Because if you have patients who are clinically depressed, and that's clinical depressed, so that's treatment, that's pharma. It could actually be developed for depression, because of the euphoric effect, you could switch the person on the other side. Yeah. But that's not what we do. And it's also important to note that we don't treat. So Zembrin is not a treatment. It's a supplement. All our clinical studies are based on healthy population, but experiencing certain everyday life-related challenges. Yeah. So it's not a treatment.
Which then brings me to... For those who are on pharmacological treatment, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, can they take Zembrin? Yeah. Or what should they look out for? What can you take Zembrin with, and what would you need to do? Yes. Because then that's important, as we mentioned. Anxiety is on the rise, depression. The American Surgeon General did talk about the rising level of depression among the American population. Yeah. So for those who need this sort of component or supplement, what should they do or not do before taking the drug?
So ideally, what we tell our partners who see customers, especially healthcare professionals, is Zembrin should ideally be given to consumers who haven't started any therapy. Oh, right. Because it's meant to be the baseline. Yes. It's natural, it's safe. If after a period of time the healthcare professional feels like they need something stronger, then they can step up and then go on to the pharmaceutical alternatives. If you're already on a pharmaceutical alternative, our advice is that you need to consult your healthcare professional first. Because there isn't we don't advocate for Zembrin to be taken in addition to pharmaceutical alternatives because of the way it works. And we know the mode of action. It has the ability to enhance the current dosage and affect the current pharmaceutical alternative that you may be taking. So we always advise that.
So that's responsible advice in terms of if you are taking any antidepressives, consult your healthcare
The
provider, and ideally this is not treatment but a supplement on your daily.
Yeah.
How often can you take it, and when you stop, are there any side effects afterwards?
Very good question. So you can take it, we normally take it once a day.
Okay.
Best time to take it is in the morning, preferably after breakfast, to help you start your day and sustain you through your day.
Mm-hmm.
You would notice by the end of your day, you would ideally be exhausted because of the way it works. It has activated your cognitive abilities in your brain, and that's a very high intense energy process. I spoke about the functional MRI, right?
The brain takes up a lot of energy.
Right.
Yes.
For that amount of blood flow to be going through one's brain, you burn a lot of energy. And that's where we see some of the secondary benefits of Zembrin, where it's not a sleep inducer, but it promotes better quality of sleep because of the exhaustion that you feel at the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And for some people, Zembrin actually also helps with weight loss management, especially if the weight loss is linked to stress and anxiety, where some people tend to gain weight because of comfort eating, etc. But if the trigger is stress and anxiety. So we advocate that you take it in the morning, preferably 1 to 2, but depending on your demand, you could go a little bit up. But like I said earlier,
as you mentioned earlier, there's actually quite a wide range of that.
So yeah, you take it in the morning, you should be fine. If you don't take it, you would notice that you haven't taken it, but it's not addictive. So we do have, so you can stop very comfortably and decide to take it when you want to. Or let's say if you have you've got a big job ahead of you, or you've got this heavy protocol that you need to put together, an assignment, or even a podcast you need to record.
Or even a podcast.
you can take
or even spending a day with your teenager.
Exactly. And, the applications is quite broad.
Yes.
I mean, clinically, because of the clinical evidence we have, we can only talk of young adults. So, by definition, children from the age of 12 and above.
And above, okay.
Yeah, because they are medically adults. Right?
That's what's going to be my next question. When can we start, and what's the youngest?
Yeah, so from 12 and above, because they are medically defined as adults. So in that range, you're talking about young adults, children, and obviously adults. The application is broad. I mean, for kids in particular, it could help them with studies.
Test anxiety.
Yes,
I know
and I have had a lot of consumers reach out to us. Oh, can I give it to my child who is ADHD? Or and sometimes some of these things happen in the family where one of the parents is, and it affects the child. And we've had positive outcomes. All we can do is recommend. We just don't have hardcore clinical data to demonstrate that, Zembrin can be used in managing very strict medical conditions. Like I said, it's not a treatment, it's a supplement. So, but we always advocate that you talk to your healthcare professional.
Great. Yeah. So where to from here?
So, what's
coming up?
More science. We've been selling Zembrin. As a company, we actually turning 20 in June.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we've been around for quite some time.
Looking forward for that invitation.
I'm sure Lauren has something planned.
Yeah.
So in terms of the science, we're trying to develop, there are other botanical ingredients that also do the same thing. And, consumers are also looking for augmented therapy options. So they don't want to be taking single dose of different ingredients.
So they want combination treatment, yes. Which this actually, the Zembrin, the dual mechanism of action ticks a couple of boxes,
100%,
right? Yeah. So,
but there's some very good botanical ingredients that are not indigenous to South Africa.
Okay.
That could be combined with Zembrin to once again offer a sustained effect, maybe also improve certain elements like maybe sleep, which we've seen outcomes of, or weight loss. And also, this is also quite good for sports people. People who need, like I said, fight or flight. So you've got a tough match coming up, let's say a tennis competition.
We need to tap into the sympathetic system to just get going.
Keep you calm, focus on your game. Chess players, football, swimmers.
Gamers.
E-gamers. That's also a big thing.
Yeah.
If you look at their finger rate, and how much concentration that they need to have to actually play these games. There's actually a whole industry it blew me away. There's a whole industry of e-gaming community that rely heavily on supplements for them to be able to get through their game.
I am so looking forward to the data. I am, as a scientist, as a mom, as a perimenopausal, is there room for the rest of us who are suffering from that brain fog?
There is. And we're actually looking at covering two things. One, women's health.
Yes.
Especially when you look at the woman from a teenager from premenstrual stress all the way to menopause and perimenopause.
And postmenopausal as well, yes.
Zembrin has a role to play. Zembrin also has a role to play. Some of our earliest clinical studies, I think the participants were 65 years and above. So Zembrin also has a role to play for the elderly. And the challenge there is that as we get older, we start losing our cognitive abilities. Right, and it unfortunately degenerates into things like dementia and things like that. Alzheimer's. Yes. Zembrin, some of the early clinical pathways that was postulated for Zembrin is that Zembrin could be a very good molecule for the treatment and management of Alzheimer's and dementia. So that's
exciting.
That's also another field that we're going to be looking at as well.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
But you could recommend it to your dad or to your mom and to make you happy.
I'll start with myself. But thank you so much, Dr. Ralph. I really appreciate your time. This has been incredible. It takes everything. It takes the uplifting of our indigenous knowledge system, the indigenous community, that sticker. We know that once you purchase that, the money is going back into the community who actually are the IP owners of it.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing scientific rigor to this, because it's the supplement industry has a history of not being reliable. But
it's true. They converted me as well. I mean, moving from a pharma company to a nutraceutical. So that's what it is. It's a nutraceutical industry. It took me a while, but I was blown away by the amount of science that we invested in.
I'm sold. I'm sold. The data that's coming up, how it works, the fact that you know it works, and the standardization. And looking at the cultivars. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you everyone for listening, and good day.